many of the people that use drugs in our community, think I'm a pisshead or something like this, but my role in the community is to enforce the Aboriginal law, LORE, a law that's been missing since the powders came into our community since the 70s. Sadly missing our love, and we don't love and respect our elders, each other and our law. Once we shove white powder in our veins, we start losing a large part of our Aboriginality. We start hiding behind our Aboriginality. We start abusing our Aboriginality. Every time you shove white powder in your veins. Real blackfellas don't shoot white powder. That's a statement I'd like to make, and it's a statement I'd like everybody to hear. It's very hard to absorb this. A lot of people get pissed off when I say this. But I can say this because I don't think I was the real, the ridgy-diggy, the full quid when I was using drugs. My thinking was awry. I like to admit that, I can admit that easily. And if you watch Bastardy, you'll see much of what I admit has been, for me, a healing process. It was done in the national interest, Bastardy, and everybody in Australia should see it. There was an edited version on the ABC shown about a year ago, and I get letters from all over Australia, from young ones and old ones, struggling and coming off methadone, or struggling with their addictions and that, and drug use and that. And my role is to, if they're using, is to minimise the harm that they do to themselves by admitting to them that I was a fuck up when I was a failed cat burglar. I got busted so many times, so I was a failed cat burglar. Even though I did the wealthiest places down here in Melbourne, I failed. I wasn't that hot. Everybody honours me down here as one of the best. I don't see why that should be, because I always got busted. I mean, I left the last lag, and the last burg I did, I left me glasses in the kid's drawer, and the woman knew it was me, my glasses. So that's truly coming, admitting from a failed drug addict and a failed cat burglar that I was right out of my depth and that. And for me, I use jail to clean my act up, be a role model in the neck and that, and with the intention of coming out and doing something proper in my life, like finishing off the documentary, but also doing something in my own community as a leading light, the beacon of light that, and people look at me, I believe, in that fashion down here, both black and white people in my community. Every day, on public transport, on the streets, even people stopping their cars and winding down their windows, they're congratulating me for what I've done in this documentary, Bastardy. They've seen it, or what they've seen with the show Jack Charles versus the Crown, a one-man show that I'm soon to be taken up to Belvoir Street Theatre to a full house. Full house every night. We're sold out. So I'm Jack Charles, and I wish any of you struggling with your own addictions is to use your Aboriginality. That's who you really are. You're nothing else but an Aboriginal. If you have concerns with Christianity, use your Aboriginality. You can't go wrong there. Because if you use your Aboriginality, you're doing something similar to what Jesus Christ himself did. I mean, I feel, even though I had the same initials, Jack Charles, I feel that I've been suffering down here in my way, moving in amongst my community and doing what I'm doing. I'm at risk, I get spat in the face. They come at me with loaded fits, some of the more angrier ones and that, But I'm that clear-headed I'm able to duck into a shop because I know it's coming. I could read the addicted mind when they're upset with me. Especially when I look in their eyes, I know what they're thinking. And the majority of my people think that I'm doing good and that they honour and respect me, even at the height of their struggles, mine in their struggles. And when they're fucked up, they still respect me. I don't mind the odd bashing. Jesus Christ got the odd bashing. And this JC is no different. So that, you know, builds my heart, you know. It makes me stronger, more powerful, more blacker, more bolder. That's who I am, Jack Charles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Part of my program, if I were to go into prisons, and that would be one of the opening gambits for me, would be to show the whole series of the first Australians, right, going from the Tasmanian story, the Victorian story, the South Australian story, and right around the country, you know. And I'm able to talk about them, you know, because many of the ones in our Victorian prison system, in the main, are related to me. So I'm able to give them a bearing, you know, with the aid of the heritage mob, a full accounting of where they come from. You know, I believe many of us, you know, have no interest in ourselves because of our addicted state. I reckon drugs, going right back to the 1700s, when the sealers took us and drugged us up with rum and made us groggy and raped our women at 15 and things like this. This has progressed right to the present day now. Young women being raped or having babies at 15, like my mother still, you know, I mean, this has gone on unchecked for so many years. So is it any wonder that many of our children are being taken from us because we're not in, you know, the system doesn't facilitate, you know, an education program to many of us that come out of schools and have babies and things like this to do the right thing by the babies. The babies are going to be, you know, similar to their parents. They're going to end up, you know, as bad a drinker or a user as their parents are. And this is the sad and sorry state of affairs that we have in Australia at the moment. And I'd like all, you know, all countries, all clans, all tribes to really, you know, look at this picture, what drugs, porno, drink has done to our way of life, our laws, and that have been totally wiped out, and that not only because of you know, the government's inept handling of us over many decades, and that since they came into Australia. You know, some little part of me is, you know, some sort of thinks about it. Well, maybe they're too frightened that if a real true black fella came out, you know, out of you know, a town like, you know, a place like Elcho Island and that, you know, educated himself to the point where he became a sitting member for Parliament, you know. I'm looking for the next Aboriginal an Aboriginal Prime Minister of Australia, or somebody to run the Black Party against the Greens, against the Libs, against Labor. We need an Aboriginal party, right? Truly, this is a revolutionary thought, you know. If you ever just stop your drinking for a minute, you know, pull up and before you have a hit and think about that issue, you know. Where would we be if we had our own black party?
It will happen.
What's the potential there? Wow. Look to the future. Black and rosy.
Well, that's it, I think. Let's take.
Right.
Thank you, Uncle Jack.
Pleasure.